G'day, I'm Karen. Welcome to Life in the Bush. I'm here with a special guest today, Gary Tate, and we are at Yellagonga Regional Park, which is north of Perth in Western Australia on Whadjuk Noongar country. Now, Gary is well known in this local area for his contribution to bushland appreciation through his photography and videos, and Gary has his own YouTube channel with more than 100 videos, and I'll put a link to that below if you want to check out Gary's videos, mostly birds, water birds and wildflowers, and some visual description of Noongar words as well. Is that how you describe it, Gary?
Yes, and we've got fungi and some of the fauna as well.
Excellent. In this video, Gary and I will take you with us on a walk through Yellagonga Regional Park, and if we're lucky, I'm sure Gary will share some tips on his photography skills and how to take great photos of wildflowers and birds in particular. Gary, thank you so much for agreeing to meet with me and going on a walk and talk at Yellagonga.
Been a pleasure, and it's always a pleasure coming to this beautiful park, Yellagonga. Come and visit us sometime.
This is Lake Joondalup behind us, and there's a 16-kilometre track around Lake Joondalup that Gary is regularly riding on his bike, camera in hand.
Yes.
So if you do ever get down here, look out for Gary and say g'day.
I'll be ringing my bell.
Gary, you've been coming down here for a number of years now, and you've built up quite a library of images over the years. Tell us about what you've got in your library.
Yes, I've been visiting here since I retired, which was 18 years ago, and as we stand here today, I have in excess of 76,000 images, all taken of the biodiversity, the beautiful biodiversity that can be found in this 1,400 hectare reserve that's called Yellagonga Regional Park. Within that library, I started photographing the bird life initially, running up to just over 120 species of the native birds can be found in the park. And from there I started photographing the flora, and well over 100 species of different flowering plants can be found. And amongst that there are 29 species of orchids that I've found so far within the park, and most of the time not leaving the path, just staying on the paths and having a look. And once I finished photographing flowers and birds, I started looking at the diversity in the fungi that can be found here in the early springtime. And then as you're photographing flowers, you start to see a lot of different insects. So then I started getting several different species of insects, along with the snakes and the lizards and the other fauna that can be found, such as kangaroos and the beautiful little Quenda, which are one of my favourites in the park. They're quite difficult to find, but they are here.
That's good to know. You just get to see so much when you visit regularly.
Yes, if you're not looking at your phone and you've got your eyes open and your ears open, it's amazing what you'll find. In fact, you'll probably find more by listening intently to what's around and hearing the calls and what's scurrying in the undergrowth, and then you start to see all this beautiful diversity.
That's a good point, and an important one as well. When you're here in the warmer months of the year, there are snakes. I've seen plenty of tiger snakes here, so by listening out and keeping your eyes open, you're likely to see them before you get too close.
Yes, the weather's starting to warm up and the dewgites are coming out with that warmer weather. And the tiger snakes, in fact I see more tiger snakes in the winter months than the summer months, because the tiger snakes don't hibernate. They're active all year round in the cooler months and 24 hours a day. And why we see more in winter months is because they come out of the long grass to the side of the path to warm up.
Ah, that's good to know. Shall we go for a walk?
Yes, let's do that.
Okay, great. So Gary, what got you started with nature photography?
Well, as a child growing up down at Mosman Park on the riverfront, we always were playing in the bush or down by the water's edge of the Swan River, so we always had that natural curiosity about wildlife, and that stayed with me ever since.
Yeah.
Well, the early years there was no TV, no telephones and no iPads, so that was our diversion, was playing in the bush and observing the wildlife. It was fantastic.
We've just come across a beautiful flowering Calathemnus, the one-sided bottle brush, and I've just asked Gary, is there a good photo in this plant, and his response was always.
It is such a beautiful flower, the one-sided bottle brush. We'll have a close look at it.
Yeah.
And of course it's loved by all the honey eaters and the bees, lots of other insects that pollinate it. But we'll have a look at taking a photograph of this one.
All right. So explain this to us, Gary, your special piece of equipment.
I find that when we're photographing the wildflowers, you quite often get distracted by the background, and the flower doesn't stand out and it doesn't look quite as spectacular. So I've come up with this idea, which is simply a clipboard. I call it my black ground, B-L-A-C-K, black ground, and it's a fluffy sort of non-reflective type of material, and if you can strategically place this behind the flower out of the sun and take the photograph, then it makes for a quite a spectacular photograph of that particular wildflower. So we'll have a go at this Calathemus and see what we end up with.
All right. What do you do about it moving around, Gary? I just have that problem when there's a bit of breeze. The flower's just constantly moving in and out of focus.
Yeah, it's really a case of stopping, waiting for the breeze to stop.
Yeah.
And also it helps if you hold your breath when you take the photograph.
Does it actually help, or
It
do you think
does
it just helps us mentally? Okay.
It does help. But I'll normally have the aperture setting on my little camera. This is just a simple little Sony HX90V camera.
Yeah.
And I'll set the onto the aperture setting, and then within that setting I'll have the focus set to center, so it's centering on the flower.
Okay.
So if I need to take a photo of a flower in a bit of a hurry, then I just click around to the A setting, put the background and take the photo.
Yeah, great. Gary's just spotted a damselfly.
This is what happens when you're in the park and you've got your eyes open and you're looking around, and particularly around flowering plants, you'll see all these different sorts of insects. In here right now we've got the most magnificent tiny little brilliant blue damselfly, similar colour to a blue wren.
Oh my gosh, look at that.
And with insects it's important to let them settle and just move very slowly, gently, and it's surprising how close you might get to them without scaring them off. Very similar to bird photography. Never rush at the subject.
Good advice.
And this little camera also has quite a good zoom on it, so probably don't have to get terribly close to it, and just use your zoom.
Yeah. So Gary, this is one of the signs that you've contributed photos towards for the city of Joondalup?
Yes, my head swells every time I ride past the sign. But this is an image of Picnic Cove, and quite a few swans and coots swimming around, and got egrets in the background. Yeah. And a beautiful photo of the yellow-billed spoonbill flying overhead. And then below that we have the quite common motorbike frog.
Yeah, that is a great photo of the spoonbill. Wow. So your photographs have been used by the local governments in the area, the City of Wanneroo and the City of Joondalup, in their reserve management plans and
Yes.
educational material.
Yes, and their brochures.
And you even won an award, the City of Wanneroo Environmental Award for Excellence, for a video you created. Tell me
Yes, I
about
was going around photographing all this biodiversity, and I wanted to share it. So I started creating a DVD called Yellagonga Discover the Diversity.
Mm-hmm.
And I originally was motivated to do that by a professional photographer I met at Neil Hawkins Park one day. He was asking me what I was doing, and I explained it to her, and she said, well, why don't you go and see the Mayor of Joondalup? He'd be very interested to see what you're doing. So armed with one of my DVDs on Yellagonga, I went up and met with the former mayor, or the late Troy Pickard.
Yep.
And he was very impressed with what he saw. In fact, he bought 30 of the DVDs off me and took them to a biodiversity conference in South Africa. And over the years I've probably sold many hundreds of those, and selling the photos to the City of Wanneroo, City of Joondalup, and my DVD sales. I've been able to pay for all my camera equipment and iPad and computers, so it's been a self-funding hobby. It's been fantastic.
Yeah, that's excellent. Sorry, the reason I just stopped and pointed is because I can see blue over there. Is that a blue wren?
Yes, this is the time of year the males are changing into the blue colour, and they're absolutely beautiful, stunning blue splendid fairy wren.
Yeah.
And we also get the purple-back fairy wren here as well, which are quite common.
So what would you do now if you wanted to get a photo of that? Fairy wrens are so hard to get photos of because they're difficult to get close to.
They are, and a lot of the wildlife is very difficult to photograph, and it's quite unusual for me to go out and target something specifically to photograph. It's just a matter of being opportunistic. When you see something, be prepared to grab the camera and snap away.
Yeah, exactly. In the right place at the right time, but you've got to be out here a lot for that to happen.
That's it, and the more time you spend, the luckier you get.
Yeah.
Here we have an example of some of the photographs that I've taken around Yellagonga Park, and they've been utilised by the City of Joondalup. We've got the snake-necked turtle or oblong turtle, the Australasian shoveler, damselfly sitting on a kangaroo paw, and the western grey kangaroos, which can be found in the park. This is the local paperbark, and it was a very important medicinal plant for the Noongars. And you just rub the leaves of these, and has a wonderful aroma, and clears a headache. But many uses of the paperbark. The paperbark was used for wrapping up food and carrying water and bandages, and lots of other medical uses.
Yeah, beautiful.
And quite often when you're photographing wildflowers, it can be quite difficult to get the lighting right. So a good thing to do is to use your flash, and then you can simply take a tissue out of your pocket, put that over the flash, and that will diffuse the light.
Oh, right.
And just get enough light to brighten that up, particularly when you're photographing with a lot of backlight.
Yeah, okay. Great tip. Oh, lovely. Wow.
Another little piece of equipment I have in my tool bag is this light diffuser for the flash, and it's simply a piece of milk bottle that's been doubled over and then folded and sealed, and that can also be put over the flash and diffuse your photograph. Another little tool I have is a little measure, bit of plastic, and that can give a bit of perspective, particularly when you're photographing fungi or small wildflowers, and it enables you to relate the perspective of the flower to its size.
That's a great idea.
Earlier in the year, the Banksia prionotes start flowering, and we're just coming up to some Banksias here now on our left-hand side of the path.
Yeah.
And when they're flowering, you can find up to 8 different species of honeyeater that are attracted to the Banksia prionotes flowers.
Yeah, right.
And most of the time in the year, all you see are the red wattle birds. But when the prionotes are flowering, you get those other 7 species that visit the park as well.
Yeah, okay. So Gary, you've been outdoors, out in nature, photographing plants and animals for so many years. You must have seen a lot of things that most of us probably don't get to see. Is there anything special that has stood out?
Well, I think every day there's something special stands out. That's why I've got 76,000 images, I guess. But in the birds, probably some standouts would be a magpie flying across with a frog, and then landing on a branch in front of me and starting to devour that.
Yep.
One day at Neil Hawkins Park, it was lightly raining, and a swan came swimming along with the little white cygnet sitting on the back of the black swan. It was such a beautiful image. The West Australian published that one. Another day down on Lake Goollelal, I was photographing some Australian white ibis. The next thing, a kookaburra came down, dropped into the grass, and flew up onto land on the branch with a small tiger snake.
Oh, wow.
And proceeded to beat that around the branch and then devoured the tiger snake, and that was a very interesting series of images I got.
Yeah.
And one of my all-time favourites was again down on Lake Goollelal. I was heading for home, and a black-shouldered kite swooped down right in front of me into the long grass, grabbed a mouse and landed up on a branch, and I've got some quite amazing images of the black-shouldered kite sitting there, and the mouse is facing me, looking right into the barrel of the camera. So that was a very unique image.
Yeah,
very
wow.
memorable.
So Gary, for 18 years since retirement, you've been coming out and photographing in Yellagonga and other areas around Perth. What do you think it's done for you?
Well, it's become a passion for me. It's really the highlight of being retired for 18 years and never having a boring day. There's always something to do, something to see, something different to photograph.
Yeah.
And on a wet day when you can't get out on your bike, you can go through and edit the photos or put together a video to highlight the beauty that can be found in the biodiversity at Yellagonga.
And you like a bit of humour as well, don't you, Gary? Because
Yes.
some of your videos are quite humorous and photos. You're always posting photos on the WA Naturalist with funny little remarks.
Yeah,
Very entertaining.
I'm always trying to get a photo should tell a story. So I'm always trying to find a photo that tells a story, something that's different, not
Yeah.
just a bird posing, but in a different position, and then trying to find a funny caption to go with it,
Yeah.
just to give people a bit of a giggle.
Yeah, yeah. Well, Gary, thank you so much for sharing your tips on photography today. I've learned quite a bit.
Good.
So,
It's been my pleasure. It's always a pleasure to come out in the bush, have a walk around, see what we can see.
yeah.
As we're talking, we can hear some sea eagles in the background, pardalotes and baby wattlebirds, and
Yeah. And thank you for sharing all your photos online on your YouTube channel as well. And you know what you're doing, not only is you're obviously enjoying it, but it's contributing to bushland conservation.
well, that's the
and
objective, is to
education.
raise the awareness of this magnificent biodiversity that we're surrounded by in Yellagonga National Park.
Yeah. So get down here if you can, bring your cameras out,
Put
keep
your
an eye
walking
out for
shoes
Gary.
on, turn your phone off.
Yeah, unless you're using it as a camera.
We'll go down and see if we can find the sea eagle.
All right. If you'd like to learn more about Yellagonga, check out the City of Wanneroo or City of Joondalup websites. I'll put links below. And the City of Joondalup have actually put together a beautiful book that's available free in PDF format. That one's called Plants and People on Muru Country, Noongar Plant Use in Yellagonga Regional Park. Well, that was enjoyable walking around with Gary today. I hope you've enjoyed this video. If so, please give me a thumbs up. Consider subscribing if you haven't already to this channel. Remember to check out Gary's channel. Remember, the link is in the description below. Thank you for watching. I'll see you in my next video about life in the bush.